I see a million podcasts on relationships. Who the hell taking care of babies? Well, we're going to talk about it, and I hope you get mad because we're going to tell you how to fix it and help you be a better parent. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Please Defend Your Position. I'm your host, Tiffany K Hall. And today, to defend her position on all these matters that we will be discussing is Miss Monica. How you doing, Miss Monica?
I am good, Miss Tiffany. How are you?
I'm wonderfully well.
All right.
So I understand that you have something to say about my opinion on single parents should not date.
I found it intriguing.
Okay, what you think about that?
First, I want to know, why do you feel that way?
Well, because I think parenting is a full-time job. It is best when it's done with two parents, being the parents that created the children. Mm-hmm. But when that has not happened, I think that the parent that's left with the children needs to focus all of their attention on the children. Because relationships require a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. So I disagree with the aspect of parents not dating because parents need a life too. Mm-hmm. So while this parent or parents are taking care of these children and putting all this time and energy in these kids who will eventually leave their house. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest, kids are groomed to do well and go off and flourish outside of their parents' home. Who's taking care of the parent mentally, physically, emotionally, and so forth on?
I think that parents can have play dates, but not date.
Okay.
So play dates meaning that when the children are away, you can find things that comfort you.
Now see, that's what I was waiting for you to say, because that's what I do agree with. Mm-hmm. I don't feel as though parents should not be able to date. Mm-hmm. I'm very against bringing people around your kids, but parents need to date. Mama needs a life too.
Well, this is the thing with dating and creating and calling it actually dating, because what happens is this. I believe in not creating situations that you have to defend. So, for instance, if you start to date someone, somebody is going to get feelings, whether it be you or the other person.
Maybe.
You are the other person. If you're certain it's not you, then I'm certain it'll be the other person. Somebody's going to get feelings. So then you have to decide now. So now you have a situation where you're neglecting something. Someone's going to feel neglected. Well, why can't I come around more? Why can't I spend more time with you? Either you'll desire it or the other person will desire it. And when that happens, now we're going to compromise what our initial stance was. Mm-hmm. And so since most of us don't have that type of discipline, so to say, to keep things completely separate all the time, then you start there's a chink in the armor.
So you're talking hypotheticals here, because if I start to date someone and I'm a single parent, which I'm not, but let me tell you, if I was single, mama needs a life, I'm gonna date if I so need to, or if I so desire. If I put in my borders and my lines to not be crossed, whoever I desire to bring into my life can either deal with that or not. If I make it a staple to say, okay, I don't have people around my kids, okay, and we can date, and it just has to be here. You can see me when, on our terms outside of my children, because that is separate from what we're doing. I don't see why two consenting adults cannot move in that order. And by saying, okay, well, somebody's going to catch feelings, that's not necessarily true. Life is not black and white. There are all kind of gray areas. So if there's a lot of people out here that have very unconventional lifestyles. And so the dating scene, especially in 2022, will fall into that category. You cannot cut a parent off and say, okay, well, you can't date because all of your time is going to go to a kid, because at some point that parent does need their own life. And if they do give up everything for their kids, it could quite possibly turn into resentment at some point down the road.
If you decide that
that's a human,
that's your life, and I agree, just like it's human to catch feelings.
It is.
So that's why I'm saying don't even put that situation in, because this is the thing. When you're dating, that person will eventually require more time, or you will require more time. And I'm telling you, that's what tends to happen.
You're talking in a perfect world, though. That's like saying
nothing is perfect.
Right.
Because in a perfect world, the parents that made the children will still be together. In a perfect world. So now we're talking about a person for whatever reason couldn't make the initial relationship work.
Right.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's logical for a person just because you have children to not seek emotional connection or what have you with another adult. I don't think it's healthy or logical.
But this is the thing. I think that we're saying that parents are incomplete without another person sexual.
No.
Because it's the thing. If you're complete, then why would you even risk that situation?
Because it doesn't have to be sexual. It could be an emotional connection. It could be just hanging out. You know what I mean? It's
what
layers.
I'm saying, because human beings are going to want more of what feels good, is why even create the situation. I'm not suggesting that when kids are not with the grandparents, extended family, or whoever else that's within that helping to rear this child, I'm not saying during that time that the parent does not go out and then still have times with girlfriends, guy friends, hang out, that's fine. But when you start into a relationship romantically, you're opening up the situation. And so now you have a situation now where, again, your children need, I believe, all of your attention. All of your attention. Because if not, the world will get it. And if you don't consume their attention. Now, as they get older, they will need different, not less, but different types of attention. And believe it or not, babies don't stay babies always.
Exactly.
They will grow up. So as a parent, I think that if we have this mindset, you will spend more time and energy in keeping what was original there. I think one of the reasons we have so many single parents is because the options are so great. And unfortunately, human beings, when given too many options, they often make the wrong decision. So now we have a whole society, let's just talk about especially in the Black community, where you have 70% of our babies born to single parent homes. That's a problem. That's where they're ending up in prison.
I was going to say, you know that's a layered topic itself.
It is.
Of why these kids are being born into single parent households. It's not just because of options. It's also systematically an issue with a lot of single parent households. So it's not just
systematically.
Systematically means there's a lot of fathers in jail. There's a lot of mothers in jail as well. There's a lot of parents that have to sacrifice holding down the household with multiple kids and letting others and not interfere, but come in and help with the raising of their children, because you can't be in all places at once. You can't be a boss and a full-time mom and be at every soccer practice, every basketball game, every football game, every teacher-parent conference, and all of that, and still be a person who's running a business or a full-time employee and that type of thing. So when you are talking about the trials and tribulations that come from being or that contribute to single-parent homes, there's a lot of reasons that a kid's home could be single parents.
Well, let me say this. To your first point is, let's just say you say a lot of fathers are in jail.
Yes.
Well, I put that back on the mothers, because guess what? You should not have chosen a father that goes to jail. That's thing one. I'm going to tell you now.
I'm going
to tell you something, because let me say this. When we hold life in our bodies, we have that privilege of that. We then have the responsibility of choosing.
We can't control another person.
You cannot control another person. You can't control another person. Based on evidence, based on history, you pretty much know what you're working with. Now, that's thing one. Thing two, you had mentioned being a boss and having this and that. I believe in this life, you can have it all.
Not at the same time.
But not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
I agree with you there.
Yes, you
which
can
is
have it
why
all.
During your season of raising children, those other things may not be available.
So, okay, which is why during that season, you need to explore your options, invest in yourself the same way you invest in your kids.
But you can't.
And you have
limited resources.
You have to do what makes you happy.
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. If I am not doing what's making me happy, guess who else is not going to be happy? Nobody in my household will be happy unless the mom is not happy.
Overrated.
The lies you tell.
Happiness is
the
overrated.
lies you tell.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you, contentment is the goal. And I think that's one of the major problems in our society.
You are Jesus' little sister, because you walk on water.
Oh, no, ma'am.
Let me tell you, honey. Let me tell you, the world does not work like that.
The world works.
You have to be mentally capable to be happy and to run a household and to raise kids the proper way. If you are not a happy individual, and I'm not saying that is based on having another companion. I'm not saying that. But if you are not pouring happiness into yourself, kids are like animals. They will sniff it out. Kids can see when you are putting on a fake smile. They can tell when you are anxious. They can tell when you are sad and you are just pushing through.
Let me tell you.
They know. So if you're not investing in yourself, by all means, and putting your happiness first, your household will fail.
See, let me tell you
your
something.
household gonna fail.
That's one of the major problems in this society, period. This whole happiness thing. I promise you happiness is overrated. Let me tell you something. That's why we're the most heavily medicated, most mental health having people, because you're searching for something that's not meant to be all the time.
Opposite.
Let me finish.
Opposite.
Let me finish though.
Okay.
Because see, this is the thing. If you're searching for contentment, then when those moments of happiness come, you can be very enjoyable of it. Hold on.
But isn't that the same thing?
No, ma'am, it is not. See, happiness is sitting up smiling all the time. And happiness is constantly being entertained. Contentment is having a goal, setting it, and teaching your children this is what contentment is. Sitting down is not a punishment. Sitting down is being content in your own spirit. Not having to always be doing something. Not having to always be moving.
I think that's your definition of happiness. And I think not only that, everybody's definition of happiness is different as well. You have to take that into consideration as well.
I don't think that it's everybody's definition. I think that's the thing. I think that everybody, for the most part, has decided what happiness means. Because again, we've made that a goal. And the goal does not need to be happiness. Again, I'm telling you, the goal is contentment. Because again, that's not something, it's like endorphins. It's like endorphins. We're not built to be on that. But if you're constantly seeking that, you can never be content. That's how I know it's not the same thing.
No, that's how I know it's not the same thing. I beg to differ. And the reason I say that, I'm going to bring it back to you saying that's why we're the most medicated. We're the most medicated society because it's been so much trash pumped into our society. And it's hard to get away from.
And one of them is if you get this, then you'll be happy.
No. And see, that starts in the household as well.
I understand.
Right, that starts in the household. Contentment and happiness is the same thing. If your heart is content, if you are content with your lifestyle, if you are content with the way your household runs, if you're content with your job, you're content with your career, that brings happiness. I'm happy when I wake up in the morning. Why? Because I have something to look forward to. That is contentment. That's called finding peace, solitude.
And see, I think peace and contentment are the same thing, but that happy, I don't think is the same thing.
Look it up and tell me what you get.
But you know,
textbook.
The thing about
look it up and tell me what you get.
Let me tell you something. People make definitions. The definition don't make people.
Ooh.
So
I'm talking textbook though. No. We got to talk textbook definitions though. Textbook definitions of happiness. We can't go off of what we feel what happiness is.
I'm not thinking about feeling anything. Let me tell you something. I'm the most logical person. I don't even get into feelings because feelings have no IQ. Ooh. So I'm not interested in people's feelings. I'm interested in doing what you need to do to handle your business for the next step.
But when you look up the definition of happiness, you tell me what you find. I guarantee you it's going to equate to contentment and solitude.
Not a problem. Let's look it up. Let's see what this definition produces. Definition of happiness. The state of being happy. Definition of contentment. The state of happiness and satisfaction.
Look, similar. Contentment and pleasure.
It is very similar.
Contentment and pleasure, it's synonymous. It is synonymous.
I disagree, but hey, you defended your position.
Google says so.
But Miss Monica's saying, I disagree. She disagrees with me, but that's what it's all about. Healthy conversation. We can disagree without being disagreeable. Come on back and check us out for more content just like it.